What's up, you guys? Sean Ross Sapp, Fightful.com, FightfulMMA.com. Go over there and get all of your MMA news, including live coverage of this weekend's UFC Fight Night. It's not UFC on ESPN. It's not UFC Fight Night, whatever. It's not even UFC Jacksonville because they've had all their shows there. But it's UFC Fight Night Overeem versus Harris, apparently. Let's go ahead and talk about this show. We got some betting odds. We've got some picks. A little bit of everything for you guys. But this is the UFC's third effort since last Saturday. They moved next Saturday's show to the following week. Thank God. All due respect, I am ecstatic to have MMA back. I loved having a 10-fight card last week. I love having an 11-fight card this weekend. But I don't know if we need 35 fights over the course of a week from the UFC. I don't think so, but we do have some picks for you. Don'Tale Mayes and Rodrigo Nascimento are even at minus 105 each. I'm picking Nascimento there. This is a heavyweight fight. I think the odds are kind of fair here. You got two big dudes. You know what I always say there, especially at these lower levels. When somebody throws a fist at the other person's face, it's quite possible that the fight will just end as a result of that. But we've seen Nascimento have varying degrees of success. We've seen him successful in Contender Series, as we did Mays, although we've also seen him lose. I think Nascimento has shown fewer holes in his game though thus far, and I think he's picking up the win. Courtney Casey is a minus 142 against the plus 132 Mara Romero Barrera. I think this might be a loser leaves town fight. Courtney Casey's lost 3 of 4. Barrera's lost her last 2. And I thought she came into the UFC looking really good, did Barrera, with the win over Kalindra Faria, the win over Talia Santos, and a decision against Shakagian. I thought that she looked good, but the last year, really since last August, it's been rough for her. If she doesn't beat Casey, I think she might be hitting the bricks, and I think there's a good chance for Barrera to end up winning this. She's got the size advantage. Courtney Casey moving up from strawweight. Darren Elkins a minus 122 favorite over the plus 112 Nate Landwehr. Darren Elkins is proven, man. Like, there was a point to where if he would have picked up a couple more wins towards 2018, he could have been in the featherweight title hunt. He had won 6 in a row, and he beat guys like Dennis Bermudez and Michael Johnson, but then he ran into like Volkanovski and Ricardo Lamas and even Ryan Hall. That's not a good indication. I thought he would put away Hall. He didn't. Landwehr is 0-1 in the UFC. I think he's going to 0-2. I don't think Elkins drops this. I think this is a fight that UFC gave him, kind of hoping he would win so they could hang on to him. You have Mike Davis a minus 190 against Giga Chikadze. Or actually, that fight has been switched now. Giga Chikadze is replacing Mike Davis. I think he's fighting Erwin Rivera now. I think Chikadze's going to win this. Erwin Rivera stepping up on late notice. I got him taking this. Kevin Holland, a minus 104 against Anthony Hernandez, a minus 106. A couple more really close lines right there. Anthony Hernandez and Kevin Holland, a couple of middleweights, and we've seen Hernandez win and lose in the UFC. We've seen him compete on Contender Series. Of course, Kevin Holland is a Contender Series product as well, but we've also had the benefit of seeing him in Bellator. He's been doing a lot of grappling lately, grappling competitions or grappling matches, rather. He did one at Kasai Pro, one at Fight to Win. I've got Kevin Holland winning this. I'm a little bit surprised that the betting line is so close right there. But yeah, I think that he's going to end up taking the victory there. Up next, we have Matt Brown against Miguel Baeza. This is an interesting fight for a lot of reasons to me. I look at this fight and I'm like, all right, well, Matt Brown's a plus 137 underdog. Baeza's a minus 147 favorite. Matt Brown has quietly won 2 in a row, even though he took that extended period off. This fight is a no-lose for the UFC. If Baeza beats Matt Brown, then he gets a big win over a familiar name who probably is on the downturn of his career. If Matt Brown wins, he gets a victory. It's his third win in a row against a young up-and-comer who has never been beaten before. Now, I expect this to take place on the feet. I actually favor Matt Brown to win this. I'm not sure why, but I do. This fight was supposed to take place in March, but it got pulled due to coronavirus. I'm really excited for this fight. I want to see what Matt Brown at age 39 can still do, and I want to see what Miguel Baeza at age 27 can do in general. If Baeza wins this, I imagine he'll get a significant, he'll get, I don't want to say significant, a pretty solid name to follow up on Matt Brown, because I don't think they put him in there expecting him to win and then not give him somebody better, at least as far as name value. Song Yadong, oh, I can't wait for this fight. Minus 178 against the plus 167 Chito Vera, and then you have Uriah Faber weighing in case Yadong can't make it. This is a hell of a fight. This is a real good fight. Vera's won 5 in a row. He's really turned it around from the Lineker and Andrade fights. I often bring up the fact that there are some fighters, like Marlon Vera, who find this success with finishes. You saw him knock out Henry Briones with that up kick on Tough Latin America. Actually, you probably didn't because nobody watched that shit. But he won with the triangle armbar against Salazar. He knocked out Brad Pickett with the head kick. He tapped out Brian Kelleher with the armbar. And the fights that he was losing, it was Davey Grant decision, Marco Beltran decision, John Lineker decision, Douglas Andrade decision. Well, since that happened, Chito Vera has said, you know what? I don't think I'm going to go decision. Buren hit him with a body punch, finished him. Canetti, rear naked choke. Frankie Saenz beat him in 90 seconds. Hernandez choked him out in the second round. Andre Ewell pounded him out in round 3. He has one win via decision since coming to the UFC. Every single time he's lost has been via decision. So if I'm Chito Vera, I'm going for the finish come hell or high water against Song Yadong. I don't know if I mentioned this, but Yadong is a minus 178, Vera a plus 167. And Yadong is finishing people too, like with front chokes and elbows and beautiful crosses. But his fight with Cody Stamann went to a draw. He went to a draw with Vince Morales. This is a very intriguing fight because I get the feeling that Yadong, oh my God, that the name has feeling some dyslexia here. I feel like it's the opposite for Yadong. When he's been able to be finished and finished with all kinds of weird stuff. Like he got finished like in, I think it was MFP with a punch in round 2. There was a real weird fight in M1 that he lost, but there are a few more ways to beat Song Yadong than there are Marlon Vera, I would say. And if I were Marlon Vera, I would try to take this and get it finished. I like this fight to finish within 3 rounds. In fact, when I see the betting line at minus 115 for this to go to decision, no way, man. I even like the plus 240 of Vera inside the distance. I like Marlon Vera as a plus 167 too. That's probably one of I got 5 on it, and it's a very close. There aren't a lot of good betting lines on this to really capitalize on. Eric Anders at plus 130 might be one. It's going to be a lot of the raw ability of Eric Anders, who has now won 2 in a row, taking on Krzysztof Jotko, who has also won 2 in a row. But Jotko a minus 140. Jotko, if he wants to regain a lot of the hype that he had coming into his UFC career, I think he's got to win this. And I think it's going to come down to technique versus power here. And who is able to utilize those best. I'm a little bit surprised that Dan Ige is a plus 120. That'd be one of my I got 5 on it. He's won 5 in a row. Barboza has lost 4 of 5. He is a minus 130 favorite. Barboza has to win this. I don't think they'll cut him anyway, just because they like him and he's got some legendary knockouts. I would have probably given Edson Barboza an easier fight if I wanted him to stick around, though. Dan Ige's really good. Now, here's the thing. Edson Barboza is a lot bigger from what I remember. Dan Ige's been fighting at featherweight, I believe. And Barboza is moving down. So when I see that, I'm like, man, Barboza is going to be bigger. He made weight. I feel like a lifelong lightweight moving down to featherweight, it's gonna be either one of two things. Barboza is going to have a significant size advantage, or he's going to be zapped. And it's hard for me to tell which one that might be at this point. I got Ige winning this, though. Claudia Gadelha, minus 210 against the plus 190 Angela Hill. This is a no-lose situation for Angela Hill. She's won 3 in a row, and if she beats Claudia Gadelha, she's in title contention. So Angela Hill has a very unique path in MMA. She came into the UFC off of Tough. She lost on Tough. She had competed as a kickboxer and was 16-0. She did a fight in MMA and then got put on Tough, lost on Tough to the eventual champion, then won on the finale and lost her way out of the UFC. She lost to Torres and Namajunas, and that's going to happen. That's going to happen. She was young in her career. She fought her way back. She dominated in Invicta, had really great fights, and won titles there. Got back to the UFC and lost a ton. She went like 3-5. But over the last years especially, she's turned it up, man. Like since about April of last year, she beat Jodie Esquibel, Hannah Seifers. She's won 4 of 5. This is the Angela Hill that the UFC thought they were getting back 3 years ago. And she's always willing to fight. Always willing to fight. Claudia Gadelha has everything to lose here. She can't piece together 3 wins in a row in the UFC. Never has. Never has. Even though she's always been in contention. She's always been right there. She had that fight with Joanna Jędrzejczyk. She had 2 fights with Joanna Jędrzejczyk. She's beaten people like Carolina. That win doesn't seem as important anymore. She beat Carla Esparza a couple years ago, but she hasn't fought in about 10 months. We haven't seen her nearly as active. And if she wants to remain in title contention, she has to beat Angela Hill. Because at this point, it's hard enough for her to piece 2 wins together, let alone 3, which she hasn't done. I expect her to try to push this up against the cage, and I don't expect this to be a great fight. It could be. It could be. Both women are fully capable from a technical standpoint and a cardio standpoint to make it that way, but I'm not expecting this one to be more than what we see out of Gadelha most often, because sometimes we get great fights out of her. Oh boy, Walt Harris, a minus 140 favorite against the plus 130 Overeem. Overeem's lost, but he's not quite out of contention yet. He'll always be right there. 3 wins gets him there. This fight's been canceled twice, but you know, Walt Harris has been through a lot. The death of the murder of his stepdaughter. I'm not sure how I feel about UFC using that to promote Walt Harris. It's a story and one that probably should be told. And when I say I don't know how I feel about it, I mean legitimately, I do not know how I feel about it. It's his stepdaughter. He would know better than anybody the right way to feel about something like that. Oh, man. But it's unfortunate and tragic that happened, period. It really is. And he has effectively won 4 fights in a row. The Arlovsky fight got overturned. But he's finished 3 out of those 4 fights. Even the Godbeer fight before that. Like, let's look back at Walt Harris, because he's got a 13-7 record with 1 no contest. And really, since about 2017, He's been one of the best heavyweights in the world. You could argue since 2016, he's been one of the better heavyweights in the world. Well, the last fight against Alexei Oleinik, he won that by knockout. He won the fight. Sergey Spivak won that one. And both were performance of the nights. Both were performance of the nights in fantastic form. He beat former UFC heavyweight champion Andrei Arlovsky, which means absolutely jack shit these days. Not going to give him a ton of credit for that. Still, good for him. Good for him. He won it. Daniel Spitz TKO'd him. There you go. That's a win. That Arlovsky fight was a no contest. It should have been a win. He should be 14-7. The Mark Godbeer fight, he got DQ'd in that. That ain't a win for Godbeer. That was a DQ. Strike that from the record. For all intents and purposes, pretend that doesn't exist. So we'll say that we'll just erase that for the sake of this argument. Fabricio Werdum, that fight was taken on a matter of hours' notice, and he lost in a minute. Hours' notice. Who knows how that would have went had he had time to prepare. If they fight today, I think Walt Harris beats Werdum. Before that, he beat Cyril Asker. He beat Chase Sherman. It was 2 good wins. He has a loss to Shamil Abdurakhimov by split decision. Roughly 40% of the media scoring had that either a draw or Harris winning. 13% of the fans. It was a close fight. Closer than his record would indicate. And before that, he beat Cody East. So, I mean, since about 2016, he has put on some pretty good performances. I think he's been, I want to say consistent, more consistent than Overeem, and that's why I'm picking him to win this fight. Hope you guys join me on Saturday night. I will be in the live discussion. Join our pick'em as well. Make your picks for all these main cards, but leave a thumbs up on this video. Subscribe. I'm looking to add more content to this channel. But until next time, guys, we're out.